Hello everyone, welcome back. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about initram FS. Initram FS is also called as initial RAM disk. Initial RAM disk contain the many important drivers and it also help us to load the root file system. So if initram disk is not available, that is initial RAM disk is not available, in that case system will not appropriately boot. So what the file responsible for initial RAM disk? So let us understand that. We'll move in slash boot, and in slash boot we have very important files that responsible to boot the operating system. And VM Linux is very important files because it's a kernel. If kernel is not appropriately installed in the system, our machine will not going to boot. So when you see the line VM Linux and after that this number, it's denote the particular version of the kernel. So every kernel have one VM Linux file. For example, in this case we have here multiple kernels. Like for example, we have 693, we have 514 with different releases 16, 26, and EL17, that is no release here, and we have one rescue kernel. So for example, if I now upgrade to the next kernel, maybe the some recent release, I will get one more kernel file in my slash boot directory. And for each kernel will have one initram fs file. This initram fs file is also called as initial RAM disk, and this initial RAM disk is responsible to load the root file system. So it's play very important role in booting the operating system. Now, what we are going to do in this tutorial, we are going to see if there is no appropriate initial RAM disk file, then how we can create it. So, do we have a situation where we'll not have the initial RAM FS file? Yes. Let's say example you have upgraded your system with a new kernel. In some cases, it has been observed that the initial RAM file, that is initramfs file, not get created automatically, or might it got some problem with that file. In that case, we need to regenerate that file. So in this tutorial, we are going to learn how to create a new initial RAM disk file. So let's first will for demonstration first we'll do the some destructive operation which is not recommended to do this on the system. This is for to demonstrate how init RAM fs file is important in the booting process and how we can generate it. So I will just remove the one of the init RAM fs file. So it will ask, do you want to remove it? Yes. Now I have removed it and will do the listing. So we cannot see the initram fs file for the kernel 693 release. Right. Now we'll reboot the system, and this is a recent kernel. So by default, system will try to boot from the recent kernel, that is 9693. So we'll wait for a while to start the boot process. Now it asks here, initram fs file is not found, press any key. So if I press any key, it will start booting the operating system. So we'll see that what kind of problem we'll face if we not have the appropriate initram fs file for the kernel which is installed on our system. So we can see that it's got stuck at the point kernel offset disabled, and we cannot see any process and progress is happening. So nothing is happening, right? So in this situation, we have two options. Either we can boot in the rescue mode, and from there we can perform the operation, or if we have the multiple kernels, we can go in the any old kernel, and from there to fix this issue for our new kernel, that is 693 release. So let's reset the system. So first we'll try to move in the previous kernel. This kernel will boot fine because their init ram fs file is there, it's not destructed. So it will take some time to load the operating system. So we have logged in the system. Let's check the kernel we have currently. So currently our operating system is running with the kernel 514.26.2. Now we'll move in slash boot directory and we'll see that we do not have the initram fs file for the kernel 693. So let us regenerate it. So for that, first we'll run the command drycut hyphen f. Drycut command will create a new initram fs for the current kernel, but this command is not required because we have already initram fs for the current kernel. So this is just for our information. If current kernel having some issue with initram fs, we can run the drycut hyphen f. So it will take few minutes to work on the command and provide the appropriate message on the screen. So when we run the drycut hyphen f, it will take time because it gather all the information of our hardware installed on the system, and it's load the appropriate driver in the form of initram fs file in img format. Now we'll see here ls minus l, and today's date is 30th. So we can see that the kernel currently which is running on the system, their init ram fs file is generated. Date is today's date, that is November 30, as per the system date, right? Now let us generate the init ram fs file for the missing kernel, that is 693. So we'll run the same command dry cut hyphen f, and here we need to give the path of our init ram fs. So in this case we write init ram fs. All right, So we need to type the new kernel. So the best way is that the version, you can just copy this number from the kernel line and just paste it over the command. Now this file we require, right? So the file inside slash boot, and the file name is initramfs hyphen and the complete version of our Linux kernel. All right. And now we'll type the extension we require in the form of img, and for which kernel do we creating this initramfs. So we creating this initramfs for our kernel version so and so. All right. So we'll hit enter. Now here we have to keep patience because it's take time to generate the image file. As we discussed, it gather all the hardware information. Based on that, it's create a ini- initial RAM disk file, and this initial RAM disk file have all the appropriate driver that help us to boot the operating system. So let's understand in which situation we'll perform this activity. One, if it directly showing init RAM FS file is missing. Two, if your system is not booting after replacing the hardware like motherboard or hard disk. In that case also we need to regenerate the initram fs file because the driver initram fs file have is a old one. So we need to recreate a initram fs file for the new drivers. Third, in case you have updated your system and you got a new kernel, but their appropriate initram fs file is not created. In that situation also, we need to create the initram fs file manually. So we can see that command is successfully completed. Let's do ls, and we can see that a new initram fs file is created for our kernel 693.252. Now let us reboot the system to test it's properly booting up without any issue. Now we have selected our recent and the latest kernel of our operating system. Now we not receive any message of missing initram fs file. So it's working properly. Thank you so much.